Hello everyone and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm going to be showing you how to play Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. It's a quick solo version of Gloomhaven, and if you're already used to Gloomhaven you're going to have a lot of familiarity here, but there are some things that have changed up for this version. First of all, I'm going to go over the setup here, and so basically you're going to have this is your attack modifier, and then you're going to have your scenario here, then you're going to have your enemy's attack modifier, and then find a place to put your enemies here. There's only going to be one type of enemy in this game, and it's the Bandit Guard. And you're going to find that on this card. It says right here, Monsters, Bandit Guard. And the goal for your first scenario is to defeat all monsters. And so that's going to be our first card. This is going to be our first setup area. And so we're going to set up the first person here on the green and the second person on the blue here. You see where it has the white around there. It shows where you're going to put those people there and there. Your person is going to go on this space here that has that symbol. And then you're going to set their dials to 8 because that's what it says here. And they have an ongoing effect of a shield 1. And then you're going to have your card right here. Active cards are going to go here. You're going to have items here later on. And your discarded pile here is here, and your lost pile is here. And you have your own dial here, and starting max hit points is 10 for the Mind Thief, who I'm going to be playing as, for level 1, and it's going to go up as you increase your levels. And so this is the basic setup here, not much to it. And so now I'm going to go over a few other things before we get into the game. First of all, after your first game, you are going to have items, which you are going to be able to play down here below your card. And you're not going to have those at first, but there are going to be different types of items. Some have a little pouch on them, and those are ones that you can have up to your level divided by 2 round up. And so as a level 1 you'll be able to have 1 pouch item, and then at level 2 still 1, and then at level 3 you'll have 2, and 4 as well 2, and then finally at level 5 you'll have 3 of those. You'll have hand items, and you have 2 hands, and so you can have either 2 one-hand items or 1 two-hand item. And then some of those items are going to have an X on them, which means when they're used, they are used up for the scenario, don't get to use them again. And then some of them have like a card that has a turn kind of thing on it, and those ones you'll be able to turn sideways when you use it, and then when you long rest you can get those back. I'm going to go over some of the icons that will be useful. First of all, we have here is the wound. When somebody has a wound, they suffer 1 damage at the start of their turn, and then you remove that when healed. The poison, which is this one here, allows attackers to do +1 damage, and that's before any modifiers. And so if you have a ×2 modifier, it actually becomes 2 extra damage on that kind of thing, so keep that in mind. And it prevents healing, which means that when you heal with poison, all you do is get rid of the poison, and if you had wound, you'd get rid of that as well, but you wouldn't actually heal any number of health. And then you have strengthen right here, which gives advantage on all attacks. And what advantage does is when you're attacking, you're rolling a die, which is going to tell you whether you're going to do this, this, or this. With advantage, you get to roll a second time and take the better of the 2, and so I would be a +0 in that case instead of the -1 that I originally rolled. Disadvantage works the same way in that you are going to roll the dice twice, but you will take the worst of the 2. In that case, it was 0 for both of them, but if it had been a -1 for either, it would be the -1 on disadvantage. So that is strengthen, and strength can be very powerful because if you use it before any attacks on your 1 turn, you get to use it all of that turn and until the end of your next turn. And so that can be very powerful if you use it early on in a turn. The next one we have here is disarm, and disarm means you cannot attack if you have that. And so if you disarm an enemy, they're going to not be able to attack on their turn. They still will move if they have movement on their card, but they will move as if they are doing a melee attack at that point. And so they may move right up to you or whatever, but they won't be able to attack you. The next one here is muddle, and muddle here is basically a disadvantage. You're going to roll and take the lesser of the 2, and so the same for the enemies if they get that. This is immobilize, and if you have immobilize, you cannot move. And then here you have invisibility, and when invisibility is on, the person cannot be attacked. If you are invisible, they will not even focus on you to move towards you or anything. they will just basically do nothing on the turn as far as moving and attacking, but they still will trigger any like heal abilities they have or anything that doesn't require them actually targeting you as a player. And then one last thing that we don't have on there is this. It's Pierce. And Pierce, if an enemy has Pierce, then they are going to be able to go straight through shields. If you have Pierce, you'll be able to go through their shields. Like this guy has that innate 1 shield. If I had a Pierce 1 or more, that would be ignored for that. As many as you have Pierce for that. And then we flip this card over. I'm going to show you some of these. This is the push the amount, and so if you're pushing, you're going to be able to say this person was here, you can push them 1, 2 away from you if it was a push 2. And so pull works the same way except the opposite direction. If you have like a range 3 on your pull, you can pull 1, 2 at least range 3. And then target X means you're going to be able to target multiple people if they're within your range. Range X tells you how far you can attack somebody if you have a ranged attack. So if you had like a 2, you could attack this guy from here. And then damage is how much you reduce hit points by. And if somebody is suffering damage, then you do not roll any modifiers for that. They just take the damage. Like on here, you have damage for your hazards. Wounds are suffering damage, and there's other ways that you can cause people to suffer damage throughout the game. You have moving, or you have attack X, which allows you to deal damage, and then you roll the modifier for that. You have movement of amount here. You have jump, which allows you to ignore obstacles and hazards. You have healing, which allows you to heal. Shield, which allows you to shield. Retaliate, if somebody attacks you, then and they're within range of the retaliate, usually it's a range just right next to you, adjacent to you. Unless it has otherwise stated a range, that's what it is. And then they suffer that amount of damage. No shields or anything have to be worried about that. And also, if they have retaliate, of course, they will retaliate against you. Keep that in mind. And this symbol down here is recover. You return a card to your hand. So that's the basic icons that you need to be aware of for the most part. Next, we're going to talk about terrain for a moment. On this card, there's only a couple different types of special terrain. I'll go over a few extra ones in a moment. You have green, which is an obstacle that cannot be crossed over unless somebody has fly or jump. And you have red, which is a hazard, which does something negative, in this case, a 1 damage. Sometimes they'll have poison, sometimes they'll have muddle, other types of things as well. And so if you go on one of those, you are going to take a damage, again, unless you have jump or fly. And then there's also going to be purple, which represents difficult terrain to pass through, and it's going to take 2 movement to enter the difficult terrain. So if you see that purple, like a cobweb or something like that, it's going to take 2 movement to move through that difficult terrain. Now I mentioned fly just a moment ago, and I'm going to show you real quick what fly looks like on this card right here. It's this feather symbol right there. And so some enemies have fly. There may be times that you can get fly. I haven't looked at all the cards or not, but if there's fly, that means that they can both cross over all these types of things and stay over those types of things if they have that fly symbol there. And there we see the retaliate 2 for this guy, and shield 1 tells us that he has a shield, and then if you attack him, he's going to retaliate 2 if you are adjacent to him there. Let's show you another one here. This is the attack symbol, which tells you when this guy attacks, he will immobilize. And so there's different things like that to be aware of on cards. The only ongoing thing this person has is the shield there. So I want to show you a few extra things that you're going to run into along the way, just to give you an idea of what to expect there. You'll also see some of the bosses have immune, and they'll tell you they're immune to certain conditions. That means you cannot give them those conditions. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the turn structure here. For each turn, you are going to choose cards to play, and they're all going to start out on the A side, and you're going to choose cards to play. You're going to be playing one for the bottom and one for the top, but you don't have to choose right then which one's going to be bottom and top. If something happens that they roll for their initiative that changes your mind, or that something they do on their turn changes your mind, you can always flip-flop which one you're going to use. So you'll choose cards and just set them off to the side here. And those are the ones you're going to be using, and you're going to choose one of these 2 initiative numbers to be your initiative. And then after you do that, you are going to roll for their initiative. For every type of enemy out there, you're going to roll. And so right there, if they got the plus there, which means they're going to go on 70, and they're going to move 2 and attack 2, and you roll that modifier for that attack. And so if they'd done this one, it'd be move 1, attack 2. This one's move 2, attack 1, shield 1. So that's how that part works. And so let's just go ahead and say that's what happened, and let's say I chose to go on 48. That means I'd be going before them, if I had chosen to go on 75, I would be going after them. And you'll roll for each enemy, and then I'll set up the order that everybody is going to go in. And if there is ever a tie between you and one of the enemies, you are the one that will go first. And then on your turn, you will be playing, as I said, a top and a bottom, doing the actions. The bottoms oftentimes have move involved with them, although this one does not. It has an attack 2 wound, and this one actually has a control an enemy and make them move 2 if they're within range 3. So these aren't actually moves as far as the actual actions, but you also can always do the innate move 2 on the bottom of a card, and you can always do an innate attack 2 on the top of the card if you don't want to do the actual action that's on the top of the card. You'll see this symbol here means that this is going to stay in until the effect is over with, or you call it back to your hand. There is also a symbol that means it stays until the round. Whenever you have one of those symbols that's active card, it will come up here and stay there until it's no longer supposed to be there. And so after you play your cards, they are going to come back to your hand on side B, and then you'll have some that in your hand after that are side A, and some will be B. After you play it on B, they'll go to the discard, and after all your cards in the discard, or whenever you really want to, you can choose to rest. And when you rest, you're going to take your cards, and you're going to do a short rest, which if you do a short rest, you are going to lose a card at random. You'll just shuffle them up and discard one card, and that's basically all that happens there, but that's an immediate rest. You don't have to take a turn waiting and letting them do anything to you. Or you can take a long rest. In a long rest, you're going to go on initiative 99 that round, which means you'll act last, and they'll get a whole turn to be able to do stuff while you are resting. But the advantages of the long rest are, first of all, you'll heal 2 when you take your rest, and then you get to actually choose a card to lose rather than losing one at random. And finally, if you have any items that were spent, that means turn to the side, you will then unspend those items and be able to use them again. So there are advantages to long resting, and the big advantage to short resting is that you don't have to allow them to attack you while you're resting there. Now I want to talk about elements real quick. And the way elements work is, you see this card right here has frost that's being brought in. This will be brought in if it's in your hand, if it's in your active area, or if it's one of the cards that you are playing that round. If it's in your discard or your lost pile, it does not count. But if that is showing on the side that you currently have up, then that element is being brought in. And there are cards that use elements as well, like this one right here will use frost in order to disarm. So it's attack 3, if there's frost in, you can disarm, and you can use frost if enemies have it in as well, and they can use it if you have it in. Once somebody has used it, then it is not usable for the rest of that round, and so keep that in mind. Enemies could beat you to it, or you could beat the enemies to using elements as well. And then the way that you lose the game is you either have no health left on your health dial, or you run out of cards to play. You don't have 2 cards that you can use to actually play. And once that happens, you're exhausted and the game is over. But there is a way to negate damage, in that if somebody has damaged you for a whole bunch, or it's your last damage, you can either discard a card from your hand that is an A side, or you can discard 2 cards that are B side, or you can take one of your discarded cards and move it to your lost pile. And lost cards do not come back, and so you want to be very careful about that. You'll also be losing cards, of course, whenever you are resting. And so they're basically your stamina, how much time you have to be able to complete the game before you are exhausted. And so you want to be careful about losing cards, but in just the right time. Sometimes it's important to lose a card rather than take that damage. And I think that's all that I really need to go over to get started with this game. I'm going to go over some leveling up stuff at the end if you want to skip to that if you're not going to watch the scenario play out. But this is a very quick tutorial scenario, so stick with me and I'll show you how this game is played. And then I'll go over what happens at the end of the game as you level up. Okay, I'm just going to jump straight on in and let's get playing here. And for my first 2 cards, I am going to choose to play the Mind's Weakness and Parasitic Influence. And I'm going to go on 75 because I want to go slower than whatever they're going to do. And they rolled 0 to start out with. And so they're going to move 1 and attack 2. So he's going to move 1 there. He has no ability to attack me. And then number 2 is going to move there, has no ability to attack me either. And so now I can either move up to one of these guys, or I can make him move to me. I cannot get somebody to move through one of these traps and be next to me, so let's go ahead and just have him... You know, I'm going to go move to him. I'm going to use this for a basic move. Move to. So that's going to get flipped to its B side and come back to my hand. And then this one is an active card, which means add +1 to all of my attacks. This is going to stay here. And right now I'm going to do an attack 2 with it. So it's going to be attack 3 because you add the +1. And I got a plus. And so I'm doing a +1 here. So it's 3 + 1 is 4 damage to the bandit guard. That is the first one. -1 for a shield. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3 damage in total. And then this will move down to here. And that'll be the next line to focus on there. And so that is the end of the first round. This stays here for as long as I want it. And I do want it. I think I'm going to do possession. Maybe I'll do this one for the bottom. At least that's the plan, top, bottom. I will go on 16. Yeah, that is the plan because no matter what they're doing, I get to go first. And we have that there. So they're going on the same initiative again. And so before they get to go, I'm going to use this top here as control one enemy within 4 and have him move 2. I'm going to have this guy go 1, 2 like that. He'll take a damage. And that's a straight up damage. You don't have to worry about shields or anything there. And then I'm going to attack this guy with an attack 3, which becomes 4. So let's roll for the attack there. And it's a 0. So it's... Look at this. It's going to be a straight up another 0 there. So it's going to be attack 4. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4. He's on 1 health. And then this one is a B card, so it's going to come to my lost. And then for this one, I can immobilize him, which I think I will. And just put that right on his card there. And then I am going to move away from him like so. Since they're only moving 1, I don't have to worry about that guy coming to me. And then I flip this one over. Now they're going to move 1. He cannot move because he's immobilized, so he just loses his immobilization. And he has nobody to attack. And then this one is going to move 1 towards me like that. And now I have these 2 cards in my hand, so I'm going to be playing those no matter what. And I'm going to go on... Doesn't really matter, I'm going to go before them no matter what, 20 or 11. And they're going on... They're going to go on... Oh, the same thing again. Oh, and I forgot to apply the shield on that attack there, so he's actually at 2. So, I've got move 2, heal 2, self, or I can move 3, attack 2, and I can move 3 and attack 2, or I can flip that. I think I don't need to heal. It really doesn't matter which one I use in here. Well, I'll use this one for, yeah, this one's better to use this way. So I'm going to use this one to move here. And I'll add muddle to this guy. And then I'll use this one to do as an attack 3. It becomes 4 because of that. Oh, and I forgot to move this down after my last attack. And so let's go ahead and roll. We've got the 0, so it's going to be an attack 3. -1 is 2, and he dies. So the muddle didn't really do any good there. But now let's go ahead and... This one comes back, and this one comes over. And I'm going to go ahead and recall this one so that I can have 2 cards to play on my next turn. And this guy is gone. Now this guy is going to move 1. He can get me, so he's going to roll. And he is going to do -1 with his attack 2, so he's going to attack me for 1. So that comes right there to 9. And now on my turn, I'm playing these 2 cards. And we're going to go on 7. See what they're doing. They're going on 30 this time. I'm just going to attack him for 3. Oh, that was a plus. No, and that should have moved down again. So it's 3, 4, and that's going to move down. So I'm doing 4 damage to him, -1 for his shield, so it's 3, 1, 2, 3. I no longer have the +1 there, so I can't rely on that. And then I can move. This one would have added +2 for each negative condition the target had, but the target had no negative conditions. And then I can move 4. He's going to move 2. And you see it has a shield here. This does not activate until his turn. So since I went before him, he didn't have an extra shield activated. So now I'm going to move away from him. 1, 2, 3 like that. And now he's going to go 1, 2. He can't attack me because he's not next to me. Now I can either long rest or I can short rest. I'm just going to go ahead and short rest, which means I'm going to shuffle all these cards up and discard 1 at random to the lost. Now if I wanted to, I could spend a health to choose a different card to discard. But I don't really care which one gets discarded at this point, so I'm not going to do that. And now I get to pick cards. And do I have the one that can make a move? Nope, that's the one that got discarded. I'm going to do this one. And let's do that one again. We're going to go on 20 this time. 0. They're going on 50. And so I'm going to go ahead and go... I'm actually going to use this for the top. Go 1, 2. Attack 2. So it's going to be attack 2. -1. And I don't think I moved this one. So it's going to be a 0 attack because of his shield. That wasn't very smart, actually. But I am going to be able to put wound on him. So put that right there. It means on his turn he is going to lose a health each time. And these come back on side B. Okay, so what is he doing? He doesn't have to move because he's already next to me. And lost the dice. He got the negative, which means... Oh, did I not move that before? I don't think I did. And so he's going to do his attack of 2 minus 1 is 1, and that moves down. So I take 1 damage, and at the beginning of his turn he took a damage for his wound, and that stays there, as would poison. So now, what do we do? I'm going to do Into the Night. No, actually I'm not. I'm going to do Gnawing Horde. And Withering Claw, I'm going to go on 18. And they're going on 70, moving to attacking 2. And I'm going to put up this card, which is actually an ongoing persistent card, and it's 2 retaliate and poison and a shield 1. And then for this one, I'm actually just going to do nothing with this one. On his turn, he takes his wound, then he attacks me, and he missed his attack, and then he takes 2 damage for my retaliate, and he's dead. And that's how you play Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. I hope you've enjoyed this video so far. I'm just going to go over leveling up. First of all, after the scenario, you're going to go ahead and read the second part here, and then you're going to get this item, as well as any items that preceded it, and any scenarios you wind up skipping for various reasons. You'll go ahead and get those items too when you skip them. And so they are items that you'll be able to put below here, and you'll be able to use those. I went over that earlier. As far as leveling up goes, once you get to one that has, you notice this here says level 1. There's going to be cards that say level 2, and then 3, and 4, and then 5. Once you get to those upper levels, you're going to then apply one of these. This is a level 2. It's going to go here. It's going to change how your attack modifier deck works. And you got ones for each character. And then level 3, you'll flip that over. Level 4, and then level 5. And so you'll get stronger as you go as far as your attack modifier deck goes. You'll also each round be able to choose one card once you get to level 2 that is a level 2 card, and be able to switch that out for the corresponding level 1 card that it mentions on here. So if I wanted to switch out parasitic influence for silent scream, I could, and so on and so forth there. And you can do that. One card can be switched in, and you can change up each scenario, which one you bring in. And then once you are level 3, you'll be able to do that with 2 cards. Level 4, you'll be able to do 3 cards. And finally at level 5, you'll have all level 2 cards brought in. And so those are the things to keep in mind when it comes to leveling up. Now there's also in the deck a card that you can put here for a very easy game. And there's also a card you can put here for a hard game to change the difficulty there. So those are the basics of how to play Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Check out some more of my videos, and let me know in the comments down below if you would like to see more Buttons and Bugs content. Anyway, I hope you have a great week, and game on.